I guess y'all scrimmage today. How did that go?
Well, I think we were all just feeding off the energy from last night still, with Coach Mulkey and the Lady Bears. So that was awesome last night, and fired up for the women as they get ready for Sunday. So I thought it was good. We started half in the stadium, and then when the Lightning got inside the certain radius, all the kids ran to their cars and got back over here, and we had probably 200 people watching today. So between recruits and recruits' families and our player parents, and then we had all the BU lettermen had the golf outing yesterday, so those guys were all here. So, but I thought it went well. The offense certainly got the best of the defense today, which is a turnaround from last week, which is usually about how it goes. And but it was good. It was good to see a lot of young guys get reps, and again, we're trying to put them in pressure situations and see how they respond. See if they're see what they do under pressure, and then if they're not quite doing what they're capable of, just keep making them more and more comfortable in the fire.
Can you go a little bit more into detail about expecting the offense to kind of take over this week?
Yeah, it's just usually kind of how springs go, or one side does a little bit better that week, and then those guys and sometimes even those coaches walk around feeling good about themselves. The other side has to take the lashing for a week, and then the next week they come out and they get after them. And so, last week the defense, I don't know if the offense scored, and today I don't know if the offense only a couple times didn't score. Talk about the ones, so. But it was good. We had some reps with all the quarterbacks. Gary getting 1 reps, Zeno and Weeks and all those guys getting reps. Guys getting some live reps with a tackle and the quarterback, and we can really see just how dangerous Gary and some of those guys are. So I thought it was just a good day all around.
If there's a position group, Matt, that's made biggest strides from when you started to where you are today, what would you say it is?
It's a good question. Maybe the tight ends, just in that, we had, Ben Sims hasn't really played. Henley's a young player, and Ben Sims is really developing as a pass catcher. He has to continue to develop as a run blocker. But I think, across all positions, I see a lot of guys getting better on the offensive line. With injuries, guys are having to play left tackle and right guard. Fu Morgan's playing center and right tackle. I mean, we've had to double guys up, and so I think we've seen a lot of guys attack that, and that's been a good thing.
What are the impressions of Blake Bedio?
He's got a high ankle sprain right now. He got hurt last week in the scrimmage, but while he was out there, he looked like a guy that could play for us this year. Now he needed to continue to develop, but he's got a really mature mindset. He's physical, very confident. A lot of playing offensive line is just confidence, and he has it. And very, very coachable, very intelligent.
Comparing this year to last year when you all were first starting, is there any difference, knowing what the team's capable of, the goal win, and knowing just how high the ceiling is?
Well, I mean, I think the biggest thing is they now know that a lot of these guys have been to a bowl game. Now they've seen what it looks like to play an SEC team, to beat an Oklahoma State, to lose to a Texas, all those things. They've been through all these moments, and they've seen just kind of, how it's not that far off. It's all sort of within this space. I mean, the biggest thing, though, is at the same time, a lot of the guys that are out there playing weren't really the contributors in those games. There was the Jalen Hurds, the Ira Lewises, the Greg Roberts. And so, every year you kind of reborn, and that sounds like coaching talk, but really what it says is just because you were on the team doesn't mean that you did those things. And so that's why we have a process in place where we practice hard, put them under pressure. I tried to put them under a lot of pressure today. We ran at the end and trying to get them to just get better and better and better every day and start to have confidence in their ability to withstand difficult things. And I think I see them doing that.
Matt, will you try to make next week? I guess you have a pretty heavy schedule this coming week. Is that going to be more like a game week leading up to the final?
Yeah, it's going to be a game week. We're going to go, Monday with a lighter practice. Tuesday, Wednesday will be hard like they are in season. Thursday will be meetings and walkthrough. Friday will be like we did it this past Friday morning at 6 a.m., like a Friday morning at 6 a.m. Fast Friday practice to get ourselves ready for Saturday. And then Saturday we'll play the game. And just how exactly the game lays out, I don't, we'll have to see, who's available. But we need the work, we need the scrimmage work. So we needed this today. It was really good to see who can tackle and who can't. And so we'll need that work again next week so that the guys have a chance now to look at last Saturday. They improved this Saturday. They have one more chance to go out there and play it where people can see it.
Well, next, will the scrimmage, will that be the end of workouts?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, once Saturday comes, we're done. We'll meet for a week as coaches and meet with the players, and they'll start finals, and then we'll head out on the road recruiting.
Can you update us on Smith came in with like a really high ceiling. He got delayed with the injuries. What are you seeing out of him in the spring?
Who's that?
Abram Smith.
Yeah, I think Abrams had a really good spring. I think the thing about Abram is he's a physical downhill, hard-nosed back that has speed and can cut, and just needs a chance to get healthy, but I think there's not a guy on this team that wouldn't say, hey, he's one of our tougher players, one of our more physical players, and it was great to see him do some good things today, and he's had a good spring overall.
You mentioned injuries. I noticed Chris posted something the other night. Chris Platt thought Denzel with a wrap. What are you kind of looking at injury-wise right now?
Yeah, so those were from the season, or really not even from the season, but from just attrition. So Jermichael had a torn ligament in his hand that, he played through for a couple years. It was kind of elective, so he got that fixed. So Jermichael's actually been practicing with us, but not scrimmaging. And then Platt did the first. He practiced all the way up until this past Wednesday night. He practiced, and then Thursday he went in. He had the same thing. He has a ligament tear in his hand or wrist. So they repaired that. And then Denzel had the same thing. So I guess years and years of catching the ball and all the things that, you have to do. But it's a good time to do it. Those guys going into their senior year, it's kind of tough having surgeries after your senior year when you start trying to train for the NFL. And so they'll all be back this summer. And, we were able to get Denzel and Chris 7, 8 practices, where they could work on things they needed to work on and then go get them fixed up so they can be back this summer and get in great shape.
So that was the goal, is like get some work and then get you fixed.
Yeah. And it was a collective decision, I wanted Denzel to have the surgery a week before he said he wanted another week of practice. So those guys have been great. So even guys like Tex walking by, I think he probably took 20 reps today in the scrimmage. Some guys are being held out so that we can really give a lot of reps to some of the younger guys who haven't played as much.
So was it excitement or disappointment when your flight got canceled yesterday?
It was an unbelievable experience, and I'm very, very grateful to the Thunderbirds. And some of the pilots were out here at practice today, so it was cool to hang out with them. But I'm glad I didn't find out. There were bets, I think, of whether I was going to pass out or throw up, and we didn't have to find out. So.
Was that weather related?
You know what? To be quiet, I'm never going to lie to you guys. I was literally walking out to the plane. I got a text with some bad family news, so I needed to go home and be with my family. So they were great about it. They asked me if I wanted to reschedule. I said maybe next year or so, but I'm definitely going to do it next year because it was an awesome experience. And, I hadn't really been out to Texas State Teachers College. What an unbelievable facility. What an unbelievable place, So I think one of the cool things for me, I'm going off on a tangent, so forgive me, but I've really tried to take this off season and really figure out all these things about Waco and McLennan County and finding all these little restaurants and burger places and cool things to do. And so Ranger Museum next week is my thing I'm doing next week. So Texas Ranger Museum, because I saw that movie. I don't know if you guys saw that movie, The Highwayman on Netflix. You should watch it. Yeah. Fantastic. So, but going out to Texas State Teacher College was really cool. Really, really impressive place. And then the Blue Angels. The Thunderbirds. The Blue Angels came last year. The Thunderbirds. What an amazing group of men and women. One of the women that was on there was a Baylor grad. And so we took them out some stuff, and they came to practice today. But, yeah, I wasn't able to go, but I went through part of the process.
Coach, as far as the newcomers, is there anybody that stood out to you that you go, wow, that guy's going to help us this fall?
I think they're all doing a great job. Now there's a lot of time between now and the fall. So, I think seeing Solo Turner out there, he has the ability to help us this fall. Now we're going to see how his, part of this thing is who can weather the storm, who can handle the everyone looks great when they feel good, who can handle the thigh bruises and the, hamstrings and the schoolwork, piling down on top of you. So we're figuring out that about some of the guys, but I think a lot of them are doing a nice job. I think the biggest thing is of all 9 guys, we know that, hey, they're all going to be good at some point, and they're all going to be guys that can help us. And so often these kids, they put so much pressure on themselves to help play right away, and the goal of this program is for you to play your best football when you're a senior. So they're all going to be guys I think that'll help us for a long time. But I think, Suzwa has all the talent to help us. Bettier has all the talent to help us next year. So we'll just kind of have to see how it goes.
Zuzwa was talked about very highly earlier this week, but another guy that was TJ Franklin. Just come in and work, a local guy, being from Temple. What have you seen from him?
Well, I think it's a credit to him, his family, and his coaches that he's so well prepared for college football. He's tough, he's competitive, he has an edge to him. Can really physically can hang in there. So I'll just say this: if we were playing today, he'd either be starting or in the rotation, depending on who else is available. So he's done a really, really good job. And I really like the older guys in the D-line. Bravion's not going right now, but Lockhart's having a great spring. Lynch is having a really good spring. So those guys are – Rob Stallings, a guy to me that's really come on this spring. And they're bringing guys like TJ along.
Not to over-exaggerate, but on the situation with your defensive line, because you had so much turnover, what's been your impression of what you've seen, how you want them to finish before you hit into the summer?
Yeah. I think the older guys are getting better. I think the biggest thing is just the mentality. They all have the talent and ability. But as I've said before, sometimes the hunted has to become the hunter. Like Ira and Greg and Xavier and those guys are gone. They brought tremendous energy and just edge to practice into the games. I mean, they were going out there. They were trying to, knock you back and take what was theirs. And the young guys are still kind of feeling their way a little bit. Like, hey, can I do this? And the answer is yes, you absolutely can do it. So go out and do it. And that's going to come with time. It's going to come with patience and practice. And so hopefully we'll continue to have good practices and get going from there.
You've had a couple of tweaks to your coaching staff this offseason. I can't help but notice that all the recruits that are in here, a couple of additions, Coach Hales and Coach Blanchard. Can you just talk about those guys and their roles with this staff? Yeah,
James, a lot of you guys knew James before I knew him. He, just because of his love of recruiting, he would, kind of sometimes send me prospects and send Coop prospects just uninvited. And eventually, he had a service that we purchased. And I just thought he was a tremendous evaluator. And so as I got to know him, I trusted him as a person. And so we brought him along, to come help with us in evaluation. And then Omar played for me, worked for me as a GA, worked for me in recruiting. And he was I don't know what his title was, but director of recruiting at Rutgers. And just someone with an amazing personality, amazing perspective, husband, father of 3 kids. He's been through it. And I just thought, not just in recruiting, but in football and, just day-to-day mentoring to our players, I think he just brings a tremendous perspective. And so, Eric Joseph, our director of player personnel, does a great job. Mike Wallace does a great job. And we just are trying to amplify that staff so that there's people touching the recruits' families, but also touching our players. Our coaches do a great job of that, but as many people as we have that can preach the message to our guys, the better off they'll all be.
Started off talking Lady Bears.
Wow.
Baseball also gets the walk-off win on Texas last night, but just seeing Kim Mulkey and what she does with those girls in that program, just your thoughts on the position they're in on Sunday night. Yeah,
I posted something last week on Twitter, it's a lesson for all coaches. It's really, if you could have heard me yelling and screaming here today, it would tell you it's what we need to do as a team is she never lets up. Because it's not about whether they just win or lose. It's about the game itself and the basketball itself, and she wants it played at a certain level. And I realized that a couple years ago when I sat on the bench behind her at Texas, and I was like, wow, she's coaching hard. And she coaches that way the whole time. And I have a tremendous amount of respect for what she's done. And I also really love the way her girls play. And I love the way her team plays. And I love the way, from the last guy on the bench, the way they support each other. And I thought I saw that from the men's team this year. Like, I was proud to go to the men's games this year because, and not that I wasn't before, but just really the injuries they had this year, watching the way they supported each other, watching the way the women's team supports each other, it is culturally done at a high level from the top on down. And so, Coach Mulkey's one of those people that, when we were 0-5, would shoot me a text or call me and might tell me I get it going, but she would shoot me a text, call me. And when this year when we had big wins, she'd shoot me a text, just like Coach Rhule. So I think it's one of the cool things about being at Baylor, working for Mac, is that all the coaches support each other. And my family goes to the equestrian meets, we go to the baseball games. I haven't been to acrobatics and tumbling this year. I don't know why I haven't made it yet, because that's one of my favorite teams. But I think it's really cool about this place. But I'm excited for Sunday. Because I think our girls are going to play great.
All right. Thanks.